Cowboys lose in Seattle on Saturday night. The post-game show was hanging with you till 2 a.m. on your home of America's team. Sean Sharif, RJ Choppy is back. We got our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt, Peyton, and Ryan, and we're all live on the fan cam, live on Twitch, and live on YouTube. We got injuries. We got Deuce Vaughn, Jalen Tolbert, and Mazi Smith as well. Where do you want to start, Roberto Belt?
Are you buying into Jalen Tolbert yet? Is the Jalen Tolbert hype sticking? Because you were worried I was overreacting last week.
You're looking good. You're looking good right now with Jalen Tolbert.
I don't even know that it's looking good. It's just it's balancing from how bad it looked last year. He looks like he is a different player. It looks like
he had
this
4
year.
for 66 at halftime. It felt like on every single third down conversion, Jalen Tolbert came up big. He had 35 yards on 3rd and 7 with defensive pass interference. Caught a 3rd and 4 slant. That's where the receiver, Bobby, breaks in like that.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
According to Kurt Warner. Had another 3rd and 4 catch. It was a shoestring catch. There was one that was reversed that ultimately resulted in a 4th and 4 to Jalen Brooks. He had another 3rd and 5. This guy was Mr. Third Down and had Cowboy fans saying, all right, we've seen enough. Get him out. And when they say that, we've seen enough, the fan base is loving what you're doing.
Yeah, he's just a different player than we saw last year. He's attacking the football. He's showing better route savvy. He's not afraid to go across the middle. He was afraid to go across the middle, it felt like last year. Whenever you would see him in the very little bit we would see him, even in practices during the season, it just felt like he was never comfortable running the routes that an NFL receiver is supposed to run. And that all looks completely different right now. So that's a big improvement, I think. The receiving core in general, I think there was positives. Kevontae Turpin made a play on 3rd down. Jalen Brooks, you just mentioned the 4th down catch. That's more of what we saw at camp from Jalen Brooks. The tough 4th and 4 comeback route, get the separation, attack the football, secure it. Like, that's more of what we saw.
But Jalen Tolbert's not on pace to, like, catch or surpass Gallup, is he?
Oh, gosh. I mean,
you don't draft a guy in the 3rd round to be your 4th receiver. Like, he has the talent to be their 3rd receiver. This is something where...
Like, is this the lower round version of CD overtaking Amari and Tolbert coming from maybe Gallup's spot? Like, we haven't talked a lot about Michael Gallup's camp.
maybe early on he made a couple of nice plays. Man, that's weird because I was like, man, Tolbert had some drops in that. He had 2 bad drops. The reason Turpin had that big 3rd down play is because Tolbert, dropped one right over the middle.
He did have one drop, and then
the reversed play.
Yeah, but that was Rush.
Right.
Rush, that was a bad throw that Rush, but it was a miracle he kept it that close. I felt like.
And on the drop, I guess you could say that the pass was behind him anyway on the one that was over the middle.
He needs to catch it,
but he needs to catch that ball. And I do wonder how the team graded him. Because that's a drop. That's not like a meh drop. That's a drop.
Yeah, ball got on him pretty quick, but he needs to catch it. But like he and Gallup are picked in basically the same range. Tolbert was picked 88. Gallup was picked 81. They believe in his talent.
What stood out to you?
Well, I mean, Deuce Vaughn. He seems like a guy that is just very difficult to bring down.
I said this while you were out. That's what I was talking about with Barry Sanders' moves.
Yeah, not what's his name, Bijan, not him. It's Deuce Vaughn, man.
This is a matter of, okay, let's not overcomplicate this. That's what's going to end up happening. We're going to do it as a media. We're going to do it as a fan base. Well, maybe not necessarily the fan base, and maybe done as a coaching staff. This isn't that hard. Just give him the football.
Give the football.
Just get him the football. Make sure he's not going to get destroyed in pass blocking situations. It's not that difficult. Right. The guy's different.
He needs touches on touches on touches. Let's find a way to get him the football. It's not only is that, it's fun. It's fun watch. It's fun watching a little guy out there.
Yep.
It's like you're punching a little person.
Exactly, A-Rod. It's just like you're punching a little person. It's fun to see a guy out there that's like our size competing. Actually, we're bigger.
Yeah.
Competing at that level. I find it like, yes. That's exactly what I want to see.
This was on a sweep. He had the nasty spin move, and then he exploded for 14 yards. And again on TV, okay, like everyone's waiting around for the second half, and then it was, all right, get him out and save him for the New York Giants.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a groundswell of support you're starting to see, especially on social media, of this idea of, well, why can't he be number 2 behind Pollard? Why can't he be that guy? Why can't he have these carries? Sham talked about it on the postgame show that he had said, if Pollard goes down, like he's still probably not your number 2 option in a normal game because Rico Dowdle, they clearly like him as a pass protector. Every time in these preseason games when Malik Davis has been in, he gets pulled off the field for 3rd down and Dowdle gets put in there. That's a clear sign Dowdle's number 2.
And Rico had a nice night.
Rico did, other than completely whiffing on the punt protection and then scooping it up and stepping out of bounds. That was he's had a bad play in both games because he had the fumble in the Jacksonville game. But as a runner, he is a shifty runner, good vision. He pass protects well. He catches well. He's a complete back. But Sham had made the point, if Pollard were to go down, you might then just kind of hop Deuce Vaughn. And Deuce Vaughn might get the lion's share of the carries and then the 3rd down back, the guy in there, because of what he can do on 1st and 2nd down. Now, in 3rd down, it's a little different. You're in there, you're needed for pass protection reasons.
Yeah.
There are different ways that you can try and draw people out of the box and do different things to account for blitzers other than just pass protect that he can have an effect on. But I think that, Deuce is on this roster. He's not just on this roster. I think they've got a plan for him. They know they want to use him, whether Pollard's healthy, Dowdle's the number 2 back or not.
Rico had a nice start, ended up with a touchdown catch on that 17-play, 80-yard drive that chewed up 8 minutes off the clock. He did have a block on Turpin's 3rd and 6 catch, and he had an average of 7 yards a carry on the first drive alone. Ended up with 3 for 19. I think we need to get to the injuries because that's probably what I wasn't anticipating Bobby bragging on Jalen Tolbert to start off, but I should have known. I should have started with the topic. Overshown and another guy that Patrick Walker highlighted last week as his biggest surprise at camp, gone for the year.
Yep, both with ACLs. John Stevens Jr., the undrafted free agent tight end out of Louisiana. He's the other one. And John Stevens is frustrating because he had, come on really strong at camp, but he was still in all likelihood going to end up on the practice squad. He was not likely to be on the 53-man roster. Overshown was somebody who was obviously on the 53-man roster as a 3rd-round pick, but he was increasingly, the talk about him was getting louder and louder, where it was, oh, he's going to contribute on special teams. Then it was, oh, he's such a good athlete. Maybe he can be like a situational rusher. Maybe he can come in on this. To the
pass coverage, he was getting highlights after we left camp.
This was getting to the point where people were starting to say, okay, maybe Micah just rushes and Overshown doesn't come off the field. Like there was this talk about him that created this nervous excitement, I think, for everybody who follows the team, everybody with the team, where they're like, it was starting to be a question of, is this real? Like, is what we've seen so far real? Because that's how good he's been. He was smart. He had a really high football IQ. The athleticism was good. The instincts were on point. This game the other night where he gets hurt, he plays 6 snaps or whatever. So he had 3 tackles. Like he was absolutely fantastic. Showed great instincts, great run fits, great in coverage. For them to lose him, I think, is a real punch to them because they don't have somebody who naturally fits into what Dan Quinn was probably drawing up for him.
I mean, it's a tough loss. I mean, it really is. And they still think that turf doesn't cause these injuries. Jerry still want to come out here and say that there's no record, there's no evidence that turf causes any of these injuries. I mean,
a lot of Tolos were talking about that. You go back and look at the replay, and I'm like, did the left knee really buckle that badly?
Yeah. Like, Michael Gallup's knee, I don't think gets ripped up on grass. I mean, he just jumped, and you saw it when he jumped. It was like, ooh, you could see the thing like rupture right there. This was a turf thing, and this is 2023, man. Like, we can find a way to get grass to grow inside. We can find a way to get grass and just move it outside.
Yes.
When you don't want it inside.
But because of Metallica,
yeah,
guys are now going to be gone for the season because they don't want to give up the concert and the show revenue.
Yeah, and I get it, but you can have it so the grass is on top of concrete. You can just move the grass outside when you need to. There's ways of doing this. They just don't want to. Like if somebody wants to do something, they'll figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah.
We have a tech billionaire sending people to the moon. We have an online shopping expert sending people to the moon. Like let that sink in. And now you're telling me that billionaire owners can't figure out a way to get grass inside.
Look, I think that they clearly would not want to give up the revenue or anything else. The PA does not really fight this. The players do. The PA doesn't.
Why?
Because the PA's seen the same studies that the NFL owners have, which says that it's really not that big a difference.
But it's the coefficient is 0. It's simple. It's understood. Turf has more friction than grass.
Okay, but the studies show that on game surfaces, the injury rate is about the same. So to them, they go, it's not worth giving up revenue for a negligible difference that studies have said it doesn't have the same impact. And so the PA's seen those things, so the PA doesn't view it as like a big fight that's worth having.
How do you judge that? I mean, the players clearly say one thing.
Yeah, it's
the players say
right.
that grass is the preferred surface and better and safer.
Right. And so, and the reason they say that is a couple of things. One, I mean, yeah, sure, you can do the studies, but there's a difference between having...
Because you're a study guy.
Yeah, I am a study guy. If your knee is ripped up, that's one thing. But we have both stood...
It just makes sense.
Yeah, we've just stand. Just stand on the sideline at a Cowboys practice in Oxnard versus a Cowboys practice in San Antonio. Just stand on the sideline. And there is a difference in how your knees feel just literally standing as a media member for 2 hours when you go off of one versus the other. It's nutty. It's night and day. And yeah, you're right. Maybe the studies show. Who knows? And I haven't seen those studies, but I'm sure anybody can make. I know this. Anybody can make a study say what they want. I do that all the time.
Star up, star down. Truckwreck.com text line. Let us know. 877-881-1053 to hit us up here with the Cowboys loss in Seattle.
Yeah, some of the star downs. I mean, we've got star up. Obviously, receiving core is better. Star down. Simi Fehoko was not somebody who's separating himself at all. He had that one ball that maybe you can argue he was interfered with down the sideline, but that was one he's got to finish that catch. The smoke routes that he and Will Greer were running were not working the same. The interior of the offensive line, Matt Farniak and Brock Hoffman, two of the guys that they were really excited about is, hey, this is our response if Zach Martin misses any time. Those two guys struggled a great deal in this game.
And by the way, it was better news for Matt Waletzko. Waletzko was dealing with a right shoulder, but Todd Archer says that's not going to be significant, obviously, compared to Overshown and Stevens.
Which it's a subluxation, which is the basically popping out, like the shoulder popping out. And he had this same issue last year, but it was a different shoulder. It was the left one, and that's what ended his season. But the guys who had to step in and play tackle on Saturday night, I thought actually played well. Awesome Richards, the 5th-round pick, and then Alex Taylor-Priolo were both pretty impressive.
Well, the big freak out right now, and yesterday he was trending, and this is probably the second biggest topic outside of the injuries. There's a Taco Charlton level scare and fear right now with Mazi Smith. That's the trending topic in DFW. He got turned twice. Stanback did a very nice job. He does a nice job on these games, I think. He did a nice job of highlighting Mazi in the run defense last week. I could hear RJ Choppy talking about not drafting a defensive tackle, but they're coming for Mazi Smith on social media after his first 2 games as the first-round pick.
I mean, you mean drafted somebody of low positional value in the first round was a bad idea? Who would have thought of that one? I was actually surprised by this because that should be a position where, it's relatively, I don't say easy to find somebody, but it shouldn't be it's not wide receiver. It's not quarterback.
It's tough to find somebody who's as good enough of an athlete and strong enough to take on double teams consistently, and that's his job. He's supposed to take on 2 NFL offensive linemen at a time. That is a rare strength trait.
And you're not going to flash as a one technique defensive tackle as much. I think that's kind of what RJ was saying. It's not a receiver, but how much should we be worrying right now?
Your linebackers should flash. That's usually the sign that your one technique is doing its job, is that your linebackers are flashing because they're being kept clean. They're not getting blockers on them. They're able to run free and make tackles. The problem is that it's just completely inconsistent. There are times where he's eating up blocks and they're forced to bounce things outside, and that looks good. And then there are other times where, like Isaiah Stanback pointed out, you're getting turned around. As soon as you get turned around, you lose the rep, and it's done. And you've lost your job. You've not, held the point of attack. And he's somebody who just right now, he's not very consistent. I don't think the Taco Charlton, Tristan Hill chatter is warranted yet, but it is something where he's not playing as consistently. He's still a very young player.